Hello, hello. Hello, hello, everyone. All is well with me, and I hope that all is well with you too. So, if you are joining me today, say hey, like, share the video, subscribe to my channel. I'll give a few seconds for a few people to come on so you can say hey, so somebody can share. And y'all overlook my quarantine scarf because something had to work. Hello, Mr. Ricardo. So I see we have a few people joining us anyway, and I'm going to go ahead on and get on into it. So, like I said, I hope all is well with you all. And if you are joining me, thank you. And say hey, like the video, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you aren't familiar with me, my name is Katherine Holmes Jones of Freedom Speaks, your holistic life empowerment coach. Um, for those on already, hi Heather. Glad you could join. Welcome tonight. And so, for those on already, thank you so much for joining me. You are tuning in to day 7 of the 7-Day Live YouTube Challenge hosted by Dr. Shamika Dean. Thank you to Dr. Dean. And here we are, day 7. Today I'll be short, but I just wanted to come on and share a moment of transparency with you all. Just to let you know about me to in hopes that it would encourage you. So, like I said, I'll be short. And so I'm gonna go on and get with it. Here we go, day 7. So I grew up in a very strict, um, controlled environment. And you know, is where all we knew was church, school, church, home, church, field, church, and repeat. So no other outside participation, um, no sports, no movies, no phones, no shopping, no sleepovers, none of that. So the only voice um, allowed was answering a question or serving, in some aspect in the church. But it may sound weird, but this environment led to a bondage mindset, you know, but where not really thinking for yourself, but a place where you feel like since you don't have a voice, then it just doesn't matter. But basically, not having a voice, so it like I said, led to a bondage mindset. But one good thing about the church part was learning about Jesus and that I could have a personal relationship with Him, and see although there were times when we had to pray out loud and push and tarry and get a breakthrough, because if we weren't shedding any tears, then uh, we hadn't touched the throne. Somebody said they know the feeling. So learning that I could also talk to God on my own caused me to develop a deeper relationship with Him. I learned that He knew my heart and He knew my cry as well, and that um, there was even though there was a place in my mind where I was stuck, there was still a place in my mind where I was stuck, even at with that, knowing Him, learning to have a relationship with Him for myself. There was still that place in my mind where I was stuck because I was accustomed to waiting for permission to speak, permission to laugh, permission to rest, permission to breathe almost. So everything I wanted to say, most of the time I would couldn't say it, or I would sneak and write it down. Like I would be on the bus on the way to school, I would write it down, and a lot of times I ended up writing stuff down in the form of poetry. So, but that same mentality, of bondage, that same mentality followed me through life a little bit, to some places, to some relationships, into some situations that caused a lot of heartache. And I began to not only pray and get to know God for myself, but I began to listen. So it was a process because this Saturday, Lord willing, I will be 47 years old, God willing. But I was about 33, I'll say, when I began to reevaluate some things and learn, myself, learn what I enjoyed, who I really was, and how did I even get to the place that I was in. So I listened to God tell me who I was to Him, and that I was fearfully and wonderfully made, by Him, and that He could do exceedingly and abundantly above all my little finite thinking could imagine, and that He was my friend, and that I could do all things through Him who strengthened me. And so I found freedom in Him. I have no problem now. I have no problem using this voice, to sing, to speak, to pray, or to even declare the goodness of God in my life to help other people like you who have been there and who are still trying to get out of that place. Um, I'll say this, that I have not arrived, in my life, because God is still working on me. But one thing about it, I now know that I have a voice and that I am His vessel. And, I also want to say that I'm thankful for my upbringing, don't get me wrong, because my parents did what they were taught, and so did generations before them. And, I love them dearly, and they learned and still learning just like we all are. But those things had a big part in making me who I am. So my parents, they instilled great ethics, and morals that made a difference in my life. So sounds like a scribe. This songbird says sounds like a scribe. And hi, Miss Duncan. So thank you for joining me. But I was, just being a little transparent about some of the things, as far as me growing up, not having a voice, and feeling silenced, and because of controlled environment, and and always having to get permission to move, basically permission to speak and permission to say what you feel. So, like I said, going through all of those things brought me to a place. And the good thing about it was that I had a relationship with God, and that I understood that I can talk to Him for myself. And in doing so, I was able to hear Him even later on, not just pray to Him and get to know Him, but learn to hear Him and listen to Him tell me who I was to Him. And so it was way, around 33, 34 that I was able to find, what I enjoy, what I like, who am I, learning and hearing Him say who I am. So, like I said, there's now no problem with me using my voice. I have a voice, y'all, to speak, to pray, to declare the goodness, of God in my life. And, you know, I also, I'm also here to encourage you. You know that you were created by God, and that you have been granted access in this world to make a difference in someone else's life. Everything that we go through is not about us. And so you are His unique vessel, which makes you beautiful in every way. He's always there, so you're never alone. And so I would like to encourage you to allow your voice to go across the world, in your message, in your song, in your books. Yes, they will all be heard, because the same words that I wrote back then, in those books of poetry, as well as the ones in the making, who knows who will read them? They were words spoken, and so they're being heard. So your voice matters. And know who God says that you are, and don't accept anything less than what He says. Because people will judge you. You are welcome. People will judge you, they will ignore you, and maybe they may even try to convince you to be their version of you. But don't settle. Draw your own line, name your own vision, speak your own piece, be a spoken voice. And so I just wanted to encourage you all with that little bit on tonight. And with that being said, I pray that you have been encouraged. Um, that's right, Ladir, you said they may refuse to support you. And so that doesn't matter, because He who is your biggest supporter, and you should be your own self supporter as well, but just like motivating yourself. But He is your biggest supporter. It's all about him. And so be encouraged. And I hope that you will share this video with someone else. And again, I am Katherine Holmes Jones of Freedom Speaks, your holistic empowerment, life empowerment coach. And until next time, y'all keep your heads up and be blessed. Y'all have a good night.